Hello, my name is Suzanne, and I am going to be talking to you about role playing and how to incorporate role playing into a training and when it is best used. So the definition of role playing, it allows a trainee or learner to take on a role to better understand a task or a position by acting out scenarios. The idea behind role playing is to develop and improve one's skills. The purpose of role playing is so that trainees can practice skills or simulate real life events in order to understand how to respond to a specific event or situation. It gives the learner or a trainee a better idea of what to expect in a new position that they may have just been hired in, or it can address a situation that an organization or a company has seen. So they can, the trainees can better understand how to respond to that situation. So when you're developing a training that is going to use role playing, there are some things that you need to keep in mind. You can make up real life scenarios to fit a situation within your organization or company. Feedback is imperative. Feedback is the best when done individually, like on one-on-one basis, but that is very dependent on time and resources, so that's not always feasible. You should always include 3 scenarios when you're doing like small group role playing. Maybe have 3 different scenarios so that the small groups can each kind of act out their own scenario, and then you can bring them back and discuss it. So always have 3 scenarios written up if you're going to do role playing. Make sure you set up and guide the role playing so that the scenario communicates the points that you're trying to convey. You can do large group role playing where you have a group acting out the scenario and then a large group of observers so that they can discuss what they observed. And you can do small group role playing where you have 2 or 3 participants acting out the scenario amongst themselves and then discussing it, or bringing it back to a larger group and discussing it as a whole. When you're presenting role playing, it's important to present the participants with your objectives ahead of time so they know where the role playing needs to go. Guide the scenario so the participants don't get off topic. Have the observers provide feedback and thoughts about the scenario that they observed. And then afterwards, it's important to ask open-ended questions or thought-provoking questions to drum up really good discussion. So some strengths and weaknesses of role-playing. Some strengths is that you obviously can tailor scenarios to your organization, which is really important. You can address things that you see going on in your organization that you want to kind of address as a whole. They're easy to write, scenarios are, because you can base them off things that are happening around you. And they can be, role-playing can be strategically placed in a training to practice skills that you're, maybe presenting about, or to change the pace of your presentation or your training seminar. Can kind of wake everybody up and kind of change the pace of everything. Some weaknesses of role-playing, some participants may not take it seriously, therefore they may not reap the full benefit of the role-playing scenarios, and your scenarios could be too far-fetched. Maybe your point didn't get across, and participants really didn't get everything they should out of the role-playing scenarios. So those would be some strengths and weaknesses. Overall, role-playing is a great way to, again, reiterate skills for a new position or to address situations that are going on in your organization. So in a whole, that is what role-playing is.